start the webinar now. Yep. Yeah. So welcome everyone to this session of the CET 16.5 QA testing guide. So my name is Yi Heng. So I am a QA analyst and configurer. So for this session, we'll have two presenters for the sessions, me and also my colleague Brian.
Hi everyone, I'm Brian, QA and configurer based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So we're gonna be bringing you 16.5 testing focus areas. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
All right. So I will first start off with my part, and then Brian will continue with the second part of the testing focus areas. So to make sure we have a smooth presentation process, we have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Also, you can note down the questions that you want to ask. You can use the chat section in this meetings to put in your questions there, or you can ask later after we have started our Q&A sessions. Yeah. So first, before I start going through with the changes in CET 16.5, yeah, there's a couple of things I would like you to take note of. So before starting the migration testing, please be sure to check with your developers that the migration changes has been done on your end, yeah, before going through the migration test. All right, so now let's proceed with the QA testing guide. So for the first part, I will cover on the changes done on the extensions. So I will cover four sections on my end. The first part is user interface related. The second is CD core related changes. And then we have 2D and 3D graphics changes. And the last part will be calculation. So let's move on to the first one. It's regarding the UI changes in CET. So this change is related to the use of DIB image to replace the current memory image that CET is using. So the DIB image is now the format for all CET icons. So the replace fixes the missing icons issues that is now happening across CET. And this change is also done to optimize the memory in CET. Yeah, especially in um, the use of the icons in memory image taking up the space in the RAM, and also what we call the GDI image, GDI object in Windows. And then the second part, second changes also related to UI, is that the refinement of the message window when adjusted, when resizing. So this is responsible for all messages, warning ribbons found in CET. So this is improved now, and when it auto adjusts, this ribbon will auto adjust itself when the dialog is adjusted. And then the third part regarding the UI changes is that the tap switch button sometimes doesn't work. So this fixes where the implementation of the tap buttons does not switch when it's clicked on. So there are different types of tap buttons that could be implemented for different manufacturers. It could be like shown in the screenshot here in the characters, like two um, ladders that you can click on that is switches between characters and poses. Yeah. Or it could be an button like this that shows a different environment when you click on. When you click, it will changes the content of the toolbox. So the fixes of this will make sure that it changes the toolbox refreshes when the different tabs are clicked on. So summarizing this, we have some recommended tests to check on these UI changes. So the first one, ensure that your manufacturer extensions icon, that those has transparent background and images and toolboxes are consistent as before. And then the second, if your manufacturer extension has implemented warning or message ribbons, make sure that when the window or dialog has been resizes, it should automatically stretch and adjust these warnings and message ribbons. And make sure that there are no truncated text or abrupt cutoffs of the messages and ribbons. The third one, if your manufacturer extension uses tab switch buttons, make sure that the toolbox can build and can be switched to. When click on the respective tab buttons, make sure that the toolbox shows the correct product and tools. And then following using your manufacturer's product, especially catalog base, make sure that when you drag or insert, the drag insert animation still work as before and nothing has changed. Check that changing the quick property is still working as usual. And lastly, alongside with the changes above, the developer also did code refactorings and cleanup on the code. So also do check that for multiple manufacturers, drawings works with switching and closing and does not crash. And then if your manufacturer extension has elevation view feature, make sure that it can still work and render the elevation correctly and accurately. All right. So the next change is related to CET core. So this one is regarding project info. It's saving all entries after the dialog is closed. So this fixes a problem with the data still being saved in the fields in project info dialog when pressing cancel or the X button on top here. Yeah, or the cancel button down in the dialog. So it will only works when it's pressing OK. Yeah, that was the issue. So this is due to the close method in code. It's not handling information correctly if the user click on X button or the cancel button. So now it should work properly. Okay, so for this part, I our recommended test for this is if your manufacturer's extension has project information feature, make sure that the information is only kept when click on OK. Otherwise, when click on cancel or X, it shouldn't save all the informations. With the project information field, generate a manufacturer printout of any type. If it can be PDF or just using print preview to ensure that the project information's variables are still kept and is accurately shown. So next change is regarding 2D and 3D graphics. This is a fix regarding to the copying of connected object. And before this, it will not affect the connectivity when copied. So referring to the screenshot or this GIF on the left-hand side, so the old behavior on this left-hand part of this screenshot, tend to change the connector to the connected behavior. If you pay attention to this, it will change it to a cone shape. Yeah, after it's being copied, though it was disconnected, a cylinder shape before this. Yeah. So this has slightly impact manufacturers where the extra part that were not supposed to be there will appear in BOM after being copied, as the connected object may have automatically generate parts. So, for instance, joint junctions for a panel. So this fix, uh, it will fix so that the copying of the objects that are not connected will stay as it is. Yep. So if you look again in the right-hand side, yeah, which is the fix portion of the clip, yeah, when cop after copied, it will not change it to cone, yeah, which is the correct behavior. Okay, so if you want to run the test on this part, on your manufacturer extensions, so make sure that it can still snap and connect like before and should not be adversely affected. Disconnecting and reconnecting, copy and pasting should work as before without any graphical glitches. If there are any automatic generated parts, it should be generated as well. Check that it is the correct part generated in the BOM with the correct SKU and options and descriptions. Yeah. If your manufacturer extension has a feature to copy and apply options, ensure that this feature is still working as well as before. Okay, let's move on to the next change related to calculation. Now we have the standardized main article view. So the main article view will be standardized and controlled, where it will lock the additions of column strictly to core components and preventing extensions from injecting custom ones. So this is mainly to the main article view. Now you can only add core columns or CET related columns in the main article view. So, however, a user will still be able to add allowed columns via the view settings dialog. So manufacturer's extension-based article will present in the new view with extension-based columns. So if your manufacturers have extensions-based article view in the BOM, the customized column can be added in this article view. Yeah. The screenshots on the right-hand side show the difference between the main article view in the BOM and then also the extensions, manufacturer extension-based custom columns in the BOM. Okay, if you would like to run the test on this section, so use your manufacturer extensions. If your manufacturer extension has customized article view, make sure that it is now present in a new view with the correct columns and accurate informations. For example, the SKU, part number, description, list price, total amount. The main article view will remain as it is and will not have custom extensions column. Loading old drawings, view setting files, check that it will still preserve and display as saved previously. Any new save of this file onwards will only be reflected in the customized article view and not the main view. Yeah. So pay attention to these changes. The next one, also related to calculation, is regarding the Excel improvement. So there are improvements implemented to the currently Excel export function. So if your manufacturer's extension uses Excel export and has dependency on core develop once, This is important to make sure that the exported copy is still accurate and has no missing informations. So of some of the improvements done to the Excel export function are shown as follow, which we have. Yep. Now you see that as I change the screenshot, where previously this is how it looks now when you have exported from CET, and then this is the new format when you export it from CET to Excel. So what we have done here is we have a new formatting in the Excel file, and the product options are exported. There are error handlings and warning for the Excels, and timestamps and versioning are also available in this Excel export. And then project info gets exported to a sheet in the Excel file. And some bug fixes are done for the pricing, and the manual sort column has been removed from the export. Yep, as you can see, the new format now is more readable compared to the old one. And with this, we recommend to test with this following steps. So using your manufacturer's product in the bill of material. So do an export of the Excel and then verify that the columns, grouping, and summary sections matches the article view as you export. The part number, pricing, and options are correct. And if your manufacturer extension uses upcharge and base column in the pricing, make sure that the list price is still accurate. And then all the above should also work with the older CT drawings. So try to load older drawings, do the Excel export, yeah, make and do a comparison. Yeah. Okay, that is my part on regarding CT changes. Now I will move to new features that we have for 16.5. So I will cover two new features in my part. The first one is regarding to categorization dialog, and the second one is related to calculation, which we have a new column called the lead time. All right. So for the categorization dialog, so we added the check and uncheck buttons in this dialog so that the user can now check and uncheck subcategories in the categorization dialog with ease. So looking at this screenshot, this animated image on the right-hand side, you can see that the pick list category in the selections has two subcategories. And when you select them, three of them, you can see that this dynamically changes the check button from check to uncheck. And it also has the number three beside, which shows that you are checking and unchecking three categories and subcategories in the categorization dialogues. So this thing is dynamic. It will automatically detect how many subcategory you has, and the numbers will changes automatically. All right, if you would like to do some checking or try out this new functions, yeah, we recommended that in the categorization dialog, verify that the unchecked number shown is accurate with the number of categories and subcategories in your selections. Yeah, this normally targets to the categories that you created manually, not the CET ones. Yeah. So we want to make sure that those custom categories are still working as expected. Yeah, clicking on the buttons will uncheck the categories, and buttons will become disabled when there is a zero category count. If there are manufacturer's categories, try the button to verify that it also works with them in the same consistent manner. And you also want to briefly check that the visibility configuration like filter, manufacturer view modes, view clips, and viewports that has the same behavior. Yeah, some of these will available in pay-per-view. Yeah, it should still have the same behavior and it will not affect it to them. Yeah, when the categories are checked or unchecked. Okay, let's move on to the next new feature, which is the lead time column and the bill of material. Yep, this is a new added column in the bill of material. Yep, it's called lead time. So it allows manufacturers to monitor the time taken from the start and completion of a certain project, like how much time needed for this product to get shipped. Yeah, for example. Mhm. So previously, manufacturers must update lead time in the catalog manually in Catalog Creator and then publish it to the server for the user to get the updates on the lead time. So now they can just plug into the new lead time column to display the up-to-date lead times. It's cutting, yeah, the manual work. Yeah. So to try on this new feature, we recommended that in the catalog creator, a lead time program is created that is tied to any product will reflect its day value in the new lead time column after it has been published. So if a manufacturer's extension has a custom lead time column, you also need to verify that it still works after migrating to the new ones. Yeah, so this is currently falls under CET core lead time. So previously, manufacturers might need to create a custom lead time to show this from catalog creator. Now it's automatically pick up the information and show it in this lead time column. All right. Yep, that is all I have that on my part. So I will now pass it to Brian. Yes, I will stop
Okay,
sharing.
thank you so much. I will take the floor now. I will begin sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I see your screen.
Perfect. Oops. Okay, this is the correct slide. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Brian. So I'll be taking over and showing you the second half of the presentation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, so I'll be going through the changes on extensions for the first part. And after on, I'll be going over the new features in CT 16.5. Now, looking at the changes on extensions, we have a few. Now, mainly, I'll be going through some CAD improvements, email drawing feature upgrade, query dialog cell highlight, and imperial dimension improvement. Okay, looking at the first one, now this is related to CAD. So what has been changed here? Now the loading progress bar of the DWG insert has been improved if you have multiple DWG insertions. Now, why are we doing this? Because in the old one, there's only a single progress bar. Okay, so with that single progress bar, it doesn't really show the progress of the entire process clearly. Okay, and sometimes when the progress bar finishes and it closes on its own, the back end process it is still running. And when you click on something, it freezes. Sometimes that happens to you, I believe, because you don't know if the cat has already been inserted completely or not, because the progress bar it closes quite early. So the new one, it has three steps, all right? So we've improved it, and part of it, we are we are now showing the building 2D and 3D graphics. Now it clearly shows you that these processes back then has been silently running in the background. So now you know it is running in front of you, and you can anticipate the completion of the CAD insertion. Okay, so when you first import and insert the CAD, it will show as this one. Now the first bar would be the overall progress, and the second one would be the individual progress. Now, after this is done, it will move on to building CAD 2D graphics. And after that, building CAD 3D graphics. Now, after all these three steps has been done, it is safe to say that your CAD has been successfully inserted in the drawing. And once you click on anything, CET should not freeze. Okay, you might be wondering where's the test instruction for that change. So we'll be going through a few CAD changes. So the test instructions will all compile into one, and I will show that at the end of the CAD section. Now, this is the next change that we're going to be looking at, support for multi-selection. Now, in CT 6.5, we've made a change here. So users can now multi-select different rows of DWG on the left. Okay, so here I have 5 DWGs I've imported into CET, and I've also inserted into CET because this is in drawing. So you can now multi-select to make bulk changes. Now that can be on the CAD properties and also the CAD layers. Now to complement this feature, we've also introduced multi-state checkboxes. All right. Now this displays three states accordingly. Now, what do I mean by that? So let's say show in 3D view. For the first DWG I've selected, it is thick. But for the second DWG that is also in the same selection, it is unthick. So one thick and one unthick, it will show as the different state, which is some check and unchecked. It will show as a dash. Okay. So with this, you have multiple DWGs, multi-selected, making bulk change will reflect to all DWG at once. And what's even more exciting, it'll be even easier to work with CAD layers. Now, if you have multiple DWGs selected, all right, multiple DWGs in selection, if you go to CAD layers, automatically you will have a display like this. Now, on the left, it shows your DWG name. It is shown in gray color. And on the right, it is the layers name for that selected DWG. Now, as you can see here, the first three layers, it belongs to the first DWG, and the rest of the layers, it belongs to the second DWG, and the list goes on and on. And with that, you can make bulk changes to your layers. Okay, another CAD improvement that we've made, we've added a search field for filtering search. Now, this is at the bottom of the listing here. Okay, so as you can see here, I type in 400, it matches the keyword here. That's why this is shown in the record listing. Now, why is warehouse also shown? That's because if you have any DWGs in selection, it will also be shown, although the keyword doesn't match. Now, if this is deselected, then it will only search for DWGs that matches the keywords. Now, the next one, it is a bug fix. Okay, so this is regarding DWG that is in a block. And after you've removed it and you re-import and reinsert the same DWG again, it cannot be imported. Okay, so I'm going to repeat again. If you have a DWG that you made it into a block, you removed it, and you re-import into CT, it blocks you. It cannot be re-imported. So this is a bug fix. Okay, so with all those changes, let's look at the test instructions. Now, first off, by using your desired DWG, import and insert multiple, and ensure that the new progress bar can work successfully. And most importantly, it still retains the same loading performance. It should not be slower than before or by any chance freezes CET. After the DWG has been inserted, please verify that it looks correct and has no missing entities. Now, with that, I would recommend you to compare with a CAT viewer if you have any. Have multiple DWGs imported into the CAT dialog, also inserted. And you can try multi-selection, changing properties in CAT properties tab or making a layer change. It should work as intended with the correct states displayed in the checkboxes. Now, the third one, make a search for your DWGs by using the newly added filter and make sure it can filter precisely. Check at any of the DWGs that are irrelevant to the keyword, but in selection, it will still be included in the filter. Next up, create a block on one of the DWGs, remove it, attempt to re-import it. It should be not blocked. So we can still import and insert it back into CET. Now, part of the code refactoring for CAT, please also make sure to create a PDF or print preview and verify that the CAT layers are correctly layered and generated. Now, this specifically affects CATs that have multiple layers. So let's say you have a floor plan that shows a multi-level space, level 1, level 2. So it is overlapping each other. So you have to make sure that it is correctly layered and generated in your printouts, because this might be affected by the CAT code refactoring. But please make sure that it is shown correctly in the correct layers. Okay, so that's all for CAT, and we'll move on to the next change. Okay, next up we have CET Core. This CET Core related. And this is related to email drawing feature. Now, what is this about? So the email drawing feature in CET, it is found incompatible with Microsoft Outlook, specifically in 2024. So it is no longer compatible, all right? And what we've done, we made the decision to discontinue the support for MAP protocol. So this is what we are currently using. And we replace it with MAP with EML method. Now that is to ensure continuity and to minimize disruptions for manufacturers using email drawing feature. Now, I don't really have a manufacturer screenshot of how it looks like, but this is a sample that I've taken from print reports. Okay, so manufacturers might have a button in their extension toolbox that directs them to a dialog, which allows them to send an email to the other parties, right? And this is how it looks like in the core print reports dialog. Now, to test if your manufacturer extension has the feature of send email or email drawing feature, ensure it still works as intended, right? So the commonly found areas would include project information, print report, or bill of material, which is the calculation dialog. Now, this is a highly customizable feature, so it's really subjective depending on your manufacturer. Moving on, we we're looking at the calculation related change. Now, this affects query dialog, right? So the change here is for user feedback. So when using query dialog, any changes now will be color highlighted. Now it's either in purple or cyan, all right? Now updates to the existing options will be highlighted in cyan, and new options will be highlighted in purple. It looks like this. Now I've made a change here. This is my existing query options. Okay, this is the query dialog on my left. It turns to this color. Now, if I add a new option, it now turns to this color here. And it also reflects in the bill of material, which is the calculation dialog on the right. So the new option will be shown here. It'll be the same color coded as the query dialog. Now to test this, manufacturers that uses query dialog ensure that their own implementations work properly and show correctly in the bill of material. Of course, make sure that they are correctly color coded depending on their states, whether it's an update or a new addition. Okay, moving on, we're going to be looking at drawing tools. Now, this is the improvement of imperial dimensions, and it is now more precise to the industry standards. Okay, so basically, we've improved this, and this only affects dimensions in fraction units. And it is now more precise where the denominator rounds to the power of 2. This is to better match industry standards of imperial dimensions. Now, what I mean by that, on the left, it is the old one. On the right, it is the new one. So here you can see there are 3 chain dimensions in different colors. They all share the same segment length, except for the last one. Okay. Now it is the same length on both left and right, but it shows a different denominator. Now on the left, it is 5/7 fraction, and on the right is 3/4. So it will round up to the nearest power of 2. Okay. Because on the left, 7 is not power of 2. It is not divisible by 2. Whereas 4, it is 2 power of 2. Okay. Same goes to the other 2 chain dimensions. On the left, this is 2/9, but on the right, it is 1/4. Now they are all of the same length. All right. I've not made a change. And in the new CET, it should round up to the nearest power of 2 denominator. And again, this only affects dimension in fraction units. Now to test, if your manufacturer desires they prefer to use fraction units, or for those who does not prefer using fraction units, you can try out. Okay, change to any of the fraction units in control panel region. Ensure that dimension chain dimensions work precisely on your end by measuring your manufactured products. Now, with that, ensure that the denominator is always run up to the smallest denominator, that is the power of 2. And while placing a 3-click dimension, not the chain dimension, verify that the manual entry of the dimension in the animation property during insert. Now, let's say if you put in a 5 out of 7, it should reject any non-power of 2 denominators. It will round up to the nearest power of 2 denominator for you. Now, this will not change the position. It will still be of the same length, and only the denominator will change. If your manufacturer has any dimension-specific features, such as a customized elevation, a product legend, or it can be a finish legend, a customized paper template, please verify that this change is also reflected in these areas. And it should be as consistent if there are updates to the measures. Of course, this also affects old drawings. Ensure that the measures they are still precise and will be re-rounded up if they are non-power of 2 denominators, just like this one on the left. Okay, now we are done with the changes on extension. So let's move on to 16.5 features. Now, the first one, it's gonna be a new extension. Now, it's been a while we last have had a new extension. Now in 16.5, we're introducing something new called Sketch and View. Now, Sketch and View, it's very similar to the existing structural extension. And what it allows is that users can now sketch freely in 2D and 3D. Okay, so you can create any freeform structures that you like of endless possibilities. So it's off limits. You can 3D sketch in 2D, 3D. Um, but in 3D, you can define the X, Y, and Z axis. And with that, you can create structures. All right. And a structural foundation that is created, we now call them extrusion. Now that is, if you connect two lines together, it will be called an extrusion. And you can also modify the line by using different sketch tools. You will see later on. We can also build a structure by applying different profiles that is following the AISE industry standards. And you can also edit using the extrusion editing tools to create joints, cuts. You can also insert a brace. And with the structure created, you can also create a mezzanine by adding a surface on the extrusions, the surface, all right, the structure that you've created. And you can also customize an article view by putting a custom part number and description. It looks like this. This is how it looks like on the right. Okay. This requires an extension license of Sketch and View. And good news is it's a free extension. Now, there won't be any test instructions. It will just be an introduction of this feature. And due to technical difficulties, I will only go through a short video of the new extension where I'll be completing a half-done mezzanine. So I will not show you on CET. Okay, so this is how it looks like on the right. You have the sketch line, can apply a profile. These are the editing tools for the profile. editing tools for the lines, add a bracing, add a bracket, um, you place a surface. Now, for more information, you can visit the help article of this new extension, which will release really soon. Okay, so here is a half done mezzanine. Here I'm sketching a line, so across one end to another end to finish up my structure. Okay, and next up, I am applying a profile to the structure. Now this is called an extrusion because it's one line to another. So I've applied a profile. Here I'm making a miter cut for that seamless joint. Okay. And here I'm changing the offset and alignment of the specific extrusion. And next up, I'm inserting a brace from one extrusion to another, just like this. And now I'm putting on the surface above, and now my mezzanine is complete. Now, for more information, again, you can visit the help article, which will release really soon. And you can try out for yourself to build different structures as you like. Okay, so the last one would be related to visibility, category, and text. Okay, so this is a new feature where users can now show part number instead of IND text in the installation text. Now to control this, a new tab of drawing settings, it's added in control panel. So you can control that to switch between part numbers or IND text. So it looks like this. So here, so let's say I want the part numbers to be shown here in the installation view mode. So you can just flick the switch in the control panel and now shows the part number instead. So the part number, it is the same shown in the view of material here at the bottom. Okay. The test instructions using your manufacturer extension, check the new options under drawing settings in control panel. So if you have a manufacturer installation view mode, please ensure that the install text shows the correct part number for all the products in the drawing. And it's very important to make sure that the part number SKU should match what is shown in the bill of material listing. Now, objects that are part tag frozen in blocks should also work. Old drawings should also work. And after you have changed it to show part numbers, please also make sure it shows in your PDF and print preview. Okay, that's about it. So for the last part, I'm gonna be going through performance. Now this serves as a reminder. So again, performance plays a very important role, okay, that affects CET. So as we add more and more new features, we take performance very strictly. Now, with that said, I will always recommend manufacturers to run basic performance tests to make sure you are not affected. Now, this is just a basic checklist that we have. Turn off all unused extensions, and these will contribute to faster CT loading and startup. Or you can carry out a basic memory leak test by using Task Manager. So this is Task Manager on the right. So you look for cetdesigner.exe. Make sure that it is not maxing out your memory consumption. And if you like to compare between the old and new performance, you're welcome to do so. And To go further, you can also run basic performance tests by using response monitor. Okay, so this is how it looks like on the right. This is used to trace time taken in CT for any actions done in the drawing space. Again, you can compare between the old and the new. These are some prominent areas that you can check. So you can check the time difference in terms of system startup time, when you place your first object placement, and if you place it subsequently, make sure it is not slower. You stretch and make sure it is smooth, copy and paste, creating alternatives, save and load drawing, and apply material, whether in animation properties, quick properties, scheme dialog, or applying a comp material. Now, if you face any of these performance issues, feel free to contact dev support at configure.com for assistance. Okay, so we've pretty much come to an end of the 16.5 QA testing guide webinar. Again, the recording of the session will be posted in the guide. Feel free to visit the 16.5 QA testing guide that has already been released. Again, I'd like to remind everyone there will not be migration workshops because it has been discontinued. And we've also made some changes to our official website. So until further notice in the coming testing webinars, you will not need to make a registration for yourself. Just look out for that Zoom link and you can just join on the actual time and date. Okay, that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, if you don't have a question on top of your head, feel free to reach out to us at QA support@configure.com for testing related questions. Until then, we'll see you in the next one next year, CET 17.0. All right, thank you so much for your participation and goodbye.